Perfect. So, good morning, everyone. Welcome to our webinar for owning your own data protection. Um, so the webinar is just a quick overview of the webinar. It's going to cover what is data protection, the difference between regular backups and disaster recovery. We will also look at some trends and statistics on data recovery and backup, as well as we'll walk through some of the steps that you can use to protect your data. Renee Tapia, he's joining us today from Acronis. He will then take us through what is Acronis, share some customer examples, and then we'll have a demo. So just again, welcome, and thank you for being a part of this webinar. So as everyone knows, my name is Rashawn Richardson. So at the end of the webinar, there will be a question and answer portion. But you can feel free to ask any questions that you have during this webinar presentation. So you don't have to wait until at the end. You can ask any questions as we go through. There will also be a survey that we will send out to each of you so that you can be able to fill it out and also receive additional information on how you can be able to protect your data, whether it's your personal data or at your business location. So to begin today's meeting, we're going to talk a little bit about Enertech services. And so what qualifies us, or what makes us uniquely qualified to provide you backup and support and disaster recovery support? We are a managed service provider, so we work with businesses to help them manage their IT infrastructure and consult with them on how they can improve their business processes. What makes us unique in the sense that we're qualified to help provide you with this service is that we have a couple partnerships with different organizations, some of the leading cloud service providers across the world right now. For example, Microsoft, SonicWall, Malwarebytes, a few of them you can see here on the slide, and Acronis. What goes even deeper for us is that we have been trained by Acronis to be their certified engineers. So that gives us a unique perspective on their backup and their backup cloud solution product line, as well as to provide support for their disaster recovery and cloud services. So we are unique in that sense that we have been trained and qualified to provide this service to you. All right, so we can talk a little bit about what data protection is. And so what is data protection? It is protecting sensitive data for your organization, whether it be your customer information or the information that you need to run your organization or your business. And it is one of those end goals that should be implemented by almost all IT security measures. So it's important that we protect our data if we are to continue running our business efficiently and effectively, and also to protect our customers' identity from being stolen, and to safeguard our business for business continuity. So recently, I asked someone what does data protection mean for them, and what measures do they have in place within their business to protect their data. They told me that they have backups. Oftentimes, when we think about data protection, we think of backups. But when we look at it from a holistic point of view, it includes disaster recovery as well. So it's not just backing up that data, but it also includes disaster recovery, which is the process of quickly recovering an entire business in the event of a disaster. So while backup mainly deals with recovering files that are stored offsite or maybe on-site, disaster recovery deals with your entire business. So let's look at some data, some statistics from SonicWall. So according to the 2018 Global Cyber Attack Trend by SonicWall, they have seen an increase in different attacks and attempts by threat actors. And so because of this trend, they've outlined it's even more important now that businesses do all that they can to protect their data. Some of these increase, as you can see from the slide, we have a 22% increase in malware attacks or malicious software. We have seen 11% in ransomware attacks. We've also seen a 38% in intrusion attempts and a 56% increase in web app attacks. So this trend shows us that there is always going to be an increase every year in attempts by threat actors. And so businesses need to make that attempt as well to put measures in place to protect their information. So with your disaster recovery, with your backups, with your data protection in a whole, it's important to take into consideration, as it's called in the security world, CIA, meaning confidentiality, availability, and integrity. So my questions to everyone here today is, if you were to lose your data today, would your business be able to start back up, say in 2 days or a week? Can you say that your most critical data is being 100% protected? What about your current backups? Are they true backups? Where are they stored? Can you restore them and they work fine? Are they missing information? With the increased number of devices active on a network, there is an increased opportunity for data loss. There is an article by Security Magazine that talks about bringing your own devices. And it's a term coined frequently in the workplace where employees are allowed to bring their own devices to work. And so because of that, this brings an increased risk as well, or increased opportunity for you to lose data. Some of these include data leakages, compromise integrity, meaning your data can be changed without you realizing it. Increased phishing attempts by threat actors, personal devices can also bring these threat actors into your network without you realizing it. So it's important that you are aware of this. And so we're going to kind of outline now some steps that you can take to protect your data. It's not a full comprehensive plan, but it outlines steps that you can take now to protect your information. So step one is, if you're using Windows 7, and you may not be aware of this, Microsoft has been pulling their support away from Windows 7. So it's slowly, and I think it may have gone already. They're no longer supporting Windows 7, so you may not be receiving patches and updates to protect the operating system. So I would say consider upgrading to Windows 10. So step two would be to scan all your devices across your network for vulnerabilities and malware. And so it's important that you also have those anti-malware software, whatever it is that you're using on your device. Let it scan, whether it's real time or you do a manual scan. You make sure you scan all of your devices for those malware threats and vulnerabilities that may be found on those devices. Also, number three is to add a network firewall. And so oftentimes we think of having an anti-malware is enough. It's on our device, so our devices are protected. But oftentimes these anti-malware software are not proficient enough to catch every malware or virus or worm and everything that's out there. And so having a network firewall at the edge of your network is important for these purposes. There's an example where there was a worm that was spread across the internet. This programmer decided he was going to build a worm that he can protect against other threats out there. And this worm went across the internet, but instead of protecting, it harmed. Worms, they don't need someone to help them propagate across the network. They can travel across your network without any help from anyone or any other programs. And so they're a little bit more difficult to defend against because they can come into your network at your network edge. So your router from your ISP, they can come through that and affect all of your devices on your network. So it's important that you have a network firewall. Also, going along with the network firewall, always make sure your devices have an active host firewall. It's important that you do that as well. Oftentimes when I go into work, I see the host firewall is turned off. For whatever reason, it's turned off, and I would have to turn it back on. So it's important that you have an active host firewall. It adds an additional layer of security as well. We talked about this in number 1, but I wanted to reiterate it here in number 5. Update all devices with the latest operating system patches. Okay? And also to have a backup plan. So take all your sensitive data and store it offsite at a secure location and test that regularly. It's important that you test your backup regularly because you may not realize it. It depends on how often you back up, but you may lose information if you're not careful with that. Have a disaster recovery plan in place. So if your primary location gets hit by a disaster, you don't want to wait until you get it back up and have your customers waiting. You want to have a secondary location that you can operate from, or secondary locations. So you want to have a disaster recovery plan in place so that you can continue operating until you can get your primary site back up. And always remember to test that regularly as well. And last but not least, it's important because employees are your last line of defense. It's because they're bringing their own devices to work, it brings that level of risk that if their devices are compromised, you can lose your data. So it's important that you train your employees, help them to be aware of security breaches and how to respond accordingly and how to avoid them. Specifically phishing attempts, phishing emails. A lot of employees tend to be susceptible to that. A client of mine, she keeps getting those phishing emails and she's not sure whether they're real or they're not because they look so real. They're coming from Microsoft and all those different well-known companies. And so it's important that you train your employees. And then number 9 is to repeat steps 4 to 8. After you've done step 1 and 2, it's just a matter of repeating step 4 to 8. It's time for you to gain a true advantage, not only in your backup, but also in your disaster recovery. This data was taken from Acronis, and Renee will talk a little bit more on these things. But 70% of the respondents have admitted to have insufficient disaster recovery protection for their critical data. And out of that 70%, 48% of respondents run both virtual and physical systems in their data center. So, because we've been, as I mentioned earlier, uniquely qualified to help, we are working with Acronis to help power your backup and your disaster recovery. Why should you choose us? Well, we're quick and easy to implement. We provide local and cloud backup and recovery. You can protect any data on any system. It's a hybrid protection in a single solution. So you don't have to worry about what platform you're using, whether you're using Windows, Linux, you're using any VMs, you don't have to worry about that. We can protect it. It is fully managed. And when I say it's fully managed, I mean that it's fully managed. We help to plan, we help to implement, we help to maintain, and we help to support it. So you don't have to focus on whether your backup and your disaster recovery is working. We take care of that for you, so you can focus on your business. It's important that businesses have backup and disaster recovery. I cannot emphasize that even more than I've emphasized it now. And so that is the introduction to how you can be able to own your data protection. I'll turn the time over now to Renee to talk a little bit more about Acronis with us, share some customer examples, and then we will go through the demo session. Renee?
Yes, just let me get my screen there. Okay, can you please confirm that you can see my screen? It should be the presentation.
Yes, you can see it.
Okay, great. Let me. Okay. Well, first of all, I would like to thank Ray for inviting me to this webinar, and thank you also the participants for your time. And the first part that Ray, it's very important, the introduction, because it's not really a question whether you should back up your data or not. It's more like a question of how many days, how many hours you have left before you lose data, right? Because uh, many things could happen with with the data. You know, it's not only the modern ransomwares, for example, that you have currently on the market, right? That they are getting modern and more modern every day, but you have other things like, for example, accidental deletion of data is also very common, or liquid spilling also. I mean, it happens to us, you know, viruses, fire explosions, device loss. Also very common is hardware failure, physical theft, or false blows, you know, or in general, the human factor, right? So there are a lot of things that could happen with the data. That's why it's very important to protect this. You know, all these years of data, all these years of expertise you have on your area, on your business, you know, on your customers. It's very important to protect it. Well, that's why we're in this business, to help our partners protect their data. Where we have more than 15 years on business, more than 15 years on expertise. On the screen, I'm showing you one like our numbers. You know, we have a lot of consumer, a lot of business customers, partners around the world in 150 countries. And we have different products that we're improving every day. We have uh, more than 200 patents. So, and with all our clients in our data centers, we have more than 5,000 petabytes of protected data. That's why our clients, they um, rely on our software. 79% of the top 100 most valuable brands are already using one of Acronis products, and 75% of the top 20 tech brands are also using already Acronis. And so that's for you to know, but maybe you don't know who's, you haven't heard about Acronis yet, but it's not like we just appeared and, you know, we already are in the market for more than 15 years. So in general, when our clients hear about Acronis, they know that it's a synonym of award-winning products, and they are easy, fast, and reliable. And that's why a lot of businesses use already Acronis in different verticals. For example, the manufacturing, automotive, the public sector, the retail, telco, finance, etc. Right. So a lot of companies are using already Acronis or relying on our software. Okay? So in Acronis we have two main products regarding the managed services. One of them is Acronis Backup Cloud, right? So Acronis Backup Cloud is a hybrid solution because, as you can see, the name says cloud, but it's not really just backup to the cloud. It's hybrid, so it could be local also. It's a solution that um, automates your backup. Because sometimes companies do manual backups, but with this you can automate your backups. We have what you see on the screen are the platforms that we support, like the most popular ones. As you can see, like Windows PC backup, Windows Service backup, Azure Exchange, SQL, SharePoint, Active Directory, Hyper-V, Office 365. Regarding Office 365, it's usually companies think that their data is already backed up, but not really, right? Office 365 don't give you they don't give you backup, only retention. So it's very important also to back up your Office 365. Also mobiles. So every time we're adding more and more platforms, the latest one we added is Nutanix and G Suite. Yeah, so in general, the console is very friendly, and I'll show it to you. I'll share my screen, the console view. But we have many features, like bare metal recovery to any platform. That's very useful for clients who want to use this type of recovery. Even to dissimilar hardware. Backup of physical, virtual environments, any-to-any migration, hybrid backup to local devices is also possible to NAS and file and system backup and granular recovery. So we have many features and advanced features also that you can check it through the console. If Egnotet can manage your backups, but if for some reason maybe you want to manage your backups, then that also is possible, right? So the console gives you that possibility. So but sometimes clients, when they hear about the cloud, they think that maybe my data will not be secured, and all of that. They start having some doubts about the cloud. And well, you don't have to worry about that, because all um, the data will be protected in our data centers, which are certified, right? Tier 3, Tier 4, and they are equipped with the latest disaster recovery preventions technologies, right? And besides, the data will always be encrypted, with SSL channel encryption. And if it's on transit, it will be encrypted. At rest, it will also be encrypted, and even it has an agent-based backup, which you can set up from the console. And of course, the real-time active anti-ransomware protection, because before, if you were fine with only a backup, now a backup doesn't guarantee you the protection you need, right? Because the modern threats now, they encrypt even the backups. So that's why you need modern solutions also for for these modern threats. And that's why we have Acronis. And Acronis itself, it's a company that is already in the market already for many years, so you don't have to worry about the data. And if maybe you are wondering where your data will be stored, for the Americas, we use our data centers, which are located in the United States. So your data will be located there. Okay. And We have also another type of clients which are more demanding because of their type of business, and backup for them is it's not enough, right? For those kind of clients, we have this other service which is called Acronis Disaster Recovery Cloud, and like Ray was explaining you, it's a bit different, right? Because I mean, if one client has only backup, it doesn't mean that the data will not be protected. I mean, the data will be fine, but what will happen in case of a disaster, right? Or not necessarily like a disaster, right? Like a natural disaster. Uh, I don't know, something happened with the server, let's say, and it's not functioning. So you need to enable another server. Uh, but let's say this server had, I don't know, 5 terabytes in the server, so you need to recover the 5 terabytes to the new server. I know this process of recovering is not something that you do in few minutes. It could take hours, even days, depending on many factors, right? Like internet connection or the how big is the data, how fast are you going to react, and all this. So if the client has only backup, then the data will be protected. It's fine. I mean, you just have to do the recovery process, and you keep working. You keep doing it, but you will lose this time, these valuable hours, right? So for that, we have this service which is called the Acronis Disaster Recovery Cloud, which basically gives you the opportunity to connect to our cloud, to connect to our data center, and keep working in our environment. So, for example, in the screen, I'm showing you how it works. Like this is the customer site. This is your site, and this is ours, right? So we kind of connect each other through VPN. Well, previously you have to do a backup because this service, uh, it's it depends on backup. So previously you have to have a recovery point on your server, and then once you have that, from the backup storage will be copied to the DR storage. Uh, so we will give you a virtual server in our environment. So what will happen? It's once your server goes down, you will be able to use that same server in our data center, right? So you will be like your information will be here. It will be like you will get replicated in our data center. So once you're done, let's say you use it for 24 hours, then you just do the failback process until you get restored, and until you get your server restored, and then you keep working, right? So in this case, you have business continuity, right? You don't lose these hours, these 24 hours. You just lose some minutes. You keep working in a Acronis environment, and then you do the failback process. That's basically what the Acronis disaster recovery cloud is all about. It gives you business continuity, and this is what the platforms that we can support. As you can see, is physical and virtual machines. We also have the ability to have the virtualization platforms, applications also, and cloud servers for real-time application and replication. Um, and I would like also to share with you some success stories we have with some clients. The first one is uh, the Pentagon, Credit Union in the United States. This Pentagon Federal Credit Union is U.S. largest credit union. It has over 14.5 billion in assets, and we're very glad that they chose Acronis. So Their story is that back in 2005, the institution faced the challenge of protecting a growing number of line of business applications running on an expanding number of servers. They had uh, they they already had an existing solution, but it was manual, and it required administrators to take each server offline for backups. And the limitations of manual imaging spill into day-to-day administration. And applications and service and server updates and backups of critical servers require someone to be on site during off-peak hours also. So they were not very happy with this. And regarding the recoveries, it also took a long time. And if a server failed, the recovery had to be manually carried out from a boot image. So that's why they decided, as they were growing servers, they were increasing the number of the servers. They started to look for another solutions that could automate their backup process, and so they could be able to also recover faster and reduce the administration overhead. So they tested, of course, several vendors and concluded that with Acronis, the recovery time uh, got 15% faster. The backup process was automated. The interface was very easy also, and the administration also was easy. So they chose Acronis, and until now they are very happy with the service. Yeah? So that's one success story we have. And one last success story I would like to share with you is this chain of restaurants. It's called RES Holdings. It's a leading food service company, and it has a diverse portfolio of 20 brands and more than 70 outlets. That includes full service restaurants, quick service restaurants, food kiosk, and food manufacturing, and they're based in Singapore and Malaysia. Okay? So their story is that back then they were facing multiple challenges, right? One of them was increasing supplier costs and downward pressure on consumer pricing. So to optimize performance, this company consolidated its business process into one ERP software platform. Of course, this helped them. They helped the company to manage stock sales and other business operations. But as you can understand, this made the ERP data extremely valuable. So they couldn't afford to lose this data. So they started to, you know, doing or yeah, they started with a backup plan, right? But in early stages, they were doing it manually. Of course, as the business grew, they couldn't do it manually anymore. So they found a solution and they install a backup software, not Acronis, another vendor, but it was complicated to use, right? It didn't perform as expected. Files were backing up, but there were often problems with data recovery, and the backup files would often get corrupted, and this complicated the restore procedure or even led to data loss. And each time it happened, the IT staff had to go log or open a support ticket with the backup vendor and wait up to 3 days for the data to be recovered. And of course, these delays often have negative impact on the business, right? On the business operations. So to protect its growing IT environment, you know, they were growing. They had 10 servers, 200 PCs, and more than 6 terabytes of data, but they were keep growing. So they decided to look for a new solution that could be that could provide simple, reliable, and comprehensive cyber protection. So after extensive research and testing and evaluating competitors, uh, they made a decision to deploy Acronis for the entire RENS infrastructure. And now they are happy with Acronis because the results they could achieve is that they could improve their backup speed. They could improve the compression. With better compression, it means also less data, which is also less money you have to pay. And with improve, they could also improve their recovery speed by 15 times, which gave them data recovery reliability. So they were very happy with us, with Acronis, and we're glad they're still working with Acronis. Right. So that was the second one I wanted to share with you. And I would also like to share with you the how it looks like from the console view. Right. It'll be just a quick demonstration. Just let me just change the screen. Where is it now? Okay, share screen. Okay, so you should be able to see it now. You see the console. So it's web-based. You need to go to cloud.acronis.com, and then you need your login and your password. So you log in. You'll have the two options, right? The administration part, where you can add users, for example, to your console. So maybe your IT admin, if uh, this is in case that you will manage your backups. In case you will not manage them, well, Egnotech will do everything for you, right? And his team will do everything for you. But in case you will manage your backups, then it's also easy to use. For example, in users, here is the people in your organization that will have access to this console. So you just add all the people you want. You have access to the console to manage this part, right? Because here you can organize, you can add folders, for example, I don't know, the marketing department or the legal department and stuff. And then you have the reports also, which is very useful. If you have usage and the operations report, you have the audit log, and in the overview, it's a summary of what you have at the moment. Um, and if you click on Manage Service, this will lead you to the backup console, where you actually start your backups, where you create the backup plans. What you need to do in this interface is you need to go to the top right on the button that says Add, and then you just look for the device you want to add. You can even download it offline here. So assuming it's a Windows, for example, you just click there, you download the agent. Once you install the agent, it will appear, the device will appear here. So you just click on the device, and then new options appear on the right side. Let's say the first option is backup. So with this option, you start the backup process. So you just click on Add Backup Plan, and you choose what do you want to backup, if it's the entire machine or just the C disk or a specific folder inside the D disk or the system state. All this you can choose. And also, if you need to backup SQL, Exchange, or Active Directory, you can also choose it from here. Where to backup, as I said, is hybrid. Here's the part that you choose, if it's to the cloud, if it's local, if it's in a NAS or a SAN. Here you choose all this. And then when you would like to back your data, right? If it's daily, if it's every hour, or even we have the option to minutes. So you can all that you can set up here, and once you're done, you just click on done. And then the retention, right? As default, we have this retention here: 6 months, 4 weeks, 7 days, 24 hours. But you can also change it to a single rule for all backup sets. And you can set it up in hours or in years, or if you want, even you can just keep it indefinitely. And here's the encryption part, the part that I told you that you can additionally add some encryption. So let's say you want to additionally encrypt this, each backup. You have 3 options here. And you even have advanced features here on this button. So you click there, and you have multiple here. Like, we're not going to go through all of them because we don't have uh, time for checking all this. But if you're interested on this, you can ask Ray for a trial account, and he will gladly create it for you, and you can check it for yourself. Right. So once you are all set up, you just create. You click on create, and the backup your backup line will start. And then for example, this one is in 92%. Okay, and if it says okay, it'll be once everything is done. And when you want to recover your data, then you have the option here, recover. You click there, and then it will show you all the points, recovery points. Right, so you just pick one of them. And this one, for example, it's got a lock because it's encrypted. So you just click on recover. Let's say you even can browse in your backup, right? Maybe you don't want to recover the whole thing, but just a file or a folder. Then you click here in files and folder, or the entire machine. Also, you have 2 options. So once you click there, it will ask you for the password in case it's encrypted. In my case, it's encrypted, so it will ask me for the password. And if not, then it will just start the recovery process. Okay, and yeah, and that's pretty much it. Then we have the disaster recovery button also, which is like I said, more advanced one. You have to connect the VPN and all this, but once it's set up, you will have the possibility to use the service. Then we have the active protection button, which is this one is the anti-ransomware protection in real time. Yeah, so this is just a quick demo to show you how easy it is to manage. So basically, from my part, I've finished. I can right.
Actually,
I'll give you the
can you
mic
talk a
back
little bit more about the disaster recovery? I was hoping you could touch on that.
Okay. So would you want a demonstration? Want him to show you it on the platform, or do you just want to just?
Yeah, I just get an idea of what it looks like in the app, in the management console.
Okay. Renee, if you could just briefly show us that.
Okay, so I stopped sharing my screen, right? Okay. Well, actually, I don't have the service set up on my computer right now, so it will just ask me to set up the service, right? But we can do an individual demo for you, especially for this for the disaster recovery, if you're interested. Because I don't have it. I don't have it set up, but you have to click on configure VPN, and you configure
So,
the
so let me ask a question. The disaster recovery option only works with your cloud,
yeah it
or when you configure the VPN, you can point it to anything, or
okay it works like this. In order to work, we need to have a recovery point with backup. So how it works, I think I clicked it incorrectly. So first, you need to do a backup. So let's say you have a server, right? So you need to do a backup with the service Acronis Backup Cloud. Okay, for example, here we have well, this is a PC, but uh, here we have the all the recovery points that we did. So what we do is we take one of these recovery points, and this is the one we use to use disaster recovery. So and this backup is stored in our cloud, in our data center. So this is on our cloud. On the DR, it works only with this with this. Did, have I answered your question?
No, it wasn't terribly clear. Say that again about, so you take one of those backups and what, you copy it to the cloud and that becomes a disaster recovery option? 'Cause I'm
Okay,
not
so
sure I understood.
yeah, so basically you would have to do a full metal backup. So everything, you back up everything, and then that
Uh-huh.
recovery point will then be used to spin up the recovery server in the event that you do have a disaster that hits one of your data center or your server goes down. You can use that to spin up the recovery server, and so that recovery server then is then operated in the cloud, and so you can use the VPN appliance that's on your network to connect your other machines on that network to the recovery server, because it's kind of like it's connecting you, as you know, as a VPN, it's connecting you on a local scale on a local network.
All right.
So did that answer your question?
Well, I understand how it's functioning now, but again, it only functions with the disaster recovery only functions with a Acronis cloud solution then.
It does, yeah. It
Okay.
functions on the cloud.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, actually, I have a couple if you guys okay. Do you have an MSP version of this software? You know, you have multiple clients and you want to be able to, to manage them separately, but still have a one-stop shop management type solution. Is there such a thing with
Um,
Acronis?
so I will talk to you, Otis, about that. As Rene mentioned before, myself and my team at Edtech, we can help to set that up for you if you're interested in having that done. So you can have this MSP solution under, so that you can be able to get all of your clients under you, and you can be able to help manage their solutions, their services, right from your platform as well.
Okay.
Great. Um, well, this is the question and answer portion. Any other questions?
I don't know if you guy has a couple, but until I see he's still muted, so I'll ask a couple more in the meantime.
Okay, go
What
ahead.
kind of what kind of bandwidth would you recommend the clients have for this to be truly effective for them on the client end?
I didn't hear you clearly. Could you repeat the question?
So on the client side, the customers, what kind of bandwidth do you recommend they have for the solution to be effective for offsite storage?
Okay, so the question is what plan would be recommended for for your clients, right?
Yeah, what kind of bandwidth do you recommend as a minimum that the customers
Okay,
have on their side? Yes.
Oh,
okay.
bandwidth.
Well,
Okay, go ahead, Rene. Sorry.
how to bundle it?
Bandwidth.
Bandwidth.
Ah, bandwidth. Ah, okay, okay. Sorry. Then, well, regarding the bandwidth, like it's not that we have like a recommendation for this. It's like just the more the better, because if you will use the just the cloud, the backup to the cloud, then yeah, you will need to have a good bandwidth. But it's hard for me to to give you an like a recommended bandwidth. I don't know if Ray has a different answer.
Okay. I can't give you a recommended bandwidth either. I guess because the data center is all the way in the United States. Um, uploading, downloading, it's gonna you're gonna require as much as possible, I could say. I am assuming you asked this question because what if it's a simple file recovery that they want to do? With Acronis, there is a feature that um, you can replicate whatever data is sent to the cloud, also to a local server. So you can replicate files that is stored in the cloud to a local server. So it gives you a quick recovery time with files. But not only that, Acronis Cyber Cloud also has quick recovery time as well. I don't remember the number of seconds. Maybe Renee can help me with that. But it has a quick recovery time as well. Um, Renee, do you remember the recovery time? I think it's in seconds. It just
Yeah,
depends.
well, yeah, the recovery is very fast, and regarding the bandwidth, I do have like an estimation of a calculator that could estimate like how many, like in minutes or in hours, how many minutes would take to upload or to download the data, which is basically like we do like a test between the your client's environment and our data center, and that we input on the calculator and will give us an approximate of how long will it take to upload, for example, 1 TB. That we can share with you.
Yeah, that I would like to know because you're not just in some of these cases, you have the small businesses you're convincing to do this solution because it is for their own good, but all they see is they're spending money, and if they're so they tend not to get the best bandwidth they can that supports their needs. They just want to get online and pay as little as possible to do so. So you end up having to convince them that okay, in order for this to really work best for you, you need to at least have whether it's 15 megabits or 25 megabits, something to that effect. Because I've seen too many that they go for the cheapest option possible, and here I come along trying to have them do something for their own good, but now they're spending money in two ways, not just one.
Yeah, yeah, I understand, and that's one of the that's indeed, yeah, one of the challenges our partners face, and some of them are solving this by in case the client has a poor bandwidth, then what they do is they upload themselves. I mean, the partner uploads the client's data in their office, because this first backup is the heaviest one, and then all the future ones will be just incremental. That's how some of them are solving this situation. But yeah, I do understand what you're coming from, what you're saying.
Okay. I see you have an alerts button there. What kind of alerts do you see? And are those alerts can be, do those alerts say agents no longer functioning or backup stopped in the middle? Those
Oh,
kind of,
this
and
alerts here
yes.
on
What
my
is that?
screen.
Uh-huh.
Okay, well, you see my screen, right?
Yes.
Okay, well, here you will have everything that is related with the backup. If for example, here we have the backup failed, backup is not responding, and backup is waiting. Everything related to the backup will be shown here. For example, this, and you can show the activity, and you can download the logs also. In this case, this was a local backup I made to a disk, to an external disk. So here on my PC, I only have one disk, the C1, right? So this D was the external one, and since I don't have it connected to my PC right now, then it's showing that it failed because I don't have it connected, and I had it set it up for, I think, every day or once a week. So that's here. But basically, yeah, on the alerts, it will on the alerts it will show you everything that related with the backup, if it failed or it's not responding, and the client will get also an email if you have set it up, and you as the admin, you will also get the notification that that something if it's something is not working.
Okay, that's what I guess that's what I was getting at.
Hmm.
Are notifications sent out to the end user, meaning me as a support tech as well as the client, to let
Yeah.
them know that a backup didn't happen, so we know to act on it.
Hmm.
Sorry, Otis. Did you ask a question? I didn't catch that.
No, I was just acknowledging he answered my question. That's
Okay.
all.
Okay, good, good.
Yeah.
If there are no more questions, we have come to the close of the webinar. So if you have any other questions that comes up after, you can always email me those questions and I could always send you back the answer. And working with Renee, if I need to get additional information, I could always get that with Renee as well. Thank you all for being here, for being a part of this webinar. I appreciate everything that you've done, Renee, up to this point, and everyone in attendance being here as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Ray, for the invitation, and thank you, Otis and Giselle, for your time also.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. Risha and I imagine we'll be in touch and talk about pricing and that sort of thing as I approach my customers.
Yes, we will. We will.
Okay.
At the end, so I will send over the survey so that everyone can be able to sign up. Something that I have working as well is that I will send at the end of the survey, you will receive additional information on how you can protect your data and also train your employees. So you will also get that.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Thank you all for being here again. Talk to you as soon as we can.
Have a good day.
You too.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.